$12,000 last year, $10,000 this year. Dues, training, and subscriptions, $5,000 last year, $4,500 this year. Postage, $2,750 last year, $2,500 this year. AMQIP bed tax, again, this is an estimate. We budgeted for $405,000 last year and $450,000 this year. Uniform allowance, we've budgeted $500, yet I do believe that that is going to be eliminated for non-union individuals. Computer expense, $38,000 last year, $46,634 this year. That has to do with all of our contracts with all of our software. Advertising, $4,000 last year, $2,000 this year. Telephone, $15,000 last year, $13,000 this year.
Sandy, could you hold it
Sure.
just a minute, please, Representative Batson?
A question, Mr. Chairman. Do you want us to ask our questions as we come to the end of the page? Or do you want to
Yeah, I think it might be better if we go through the page, and then we'll have time for questions, and we can go back. Is that all right with you, Sandy?
That's fine.
Then I have a question on the first page.
Okay, let's go back to the first page then.
Isn't that what you wanted to do?
Yes, that's fine. That is correct.
Sandy, why on auditing did we only, we budgeted $50,000 last year and only spent roughly 13? We're not audited, or what?
Well, the
Didn't get
issue,
billed yet?
the issue is, well, that's part of it. And Paul and I went back and we looked because we thought there's a huge disparity here. That's a rolling type of thing. Paula, do you want to expand on that?
Well, then, and some of it depends on legal cases that we've had. If you notice in 2012, we spent $67,000. I mean, we can't say what's gonna happen in the coming year. Auditing, yes, is sometimes a year behind in billing for one or two components. So that's why we left it at 50.
Yes.
Further question, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, then if a good portion of this is legal expense, is that what you just said, Paula?
Some of it's from legal expense. That goes in, if we have legal expense, that's where it comes from.
Is that from a grievance from a union contract, or is
Could
that
be.
from a patient and their,
It could be
Family.
any of them.
thank you.
You want to walk to the next one?
Photocopier expense, we budgeted $7,000 last year, we're budgeting $7,000 this year. Insurance, and again, this is insurance on our home. The size has increased, therefore the price has as well. $25,000 last year, $50,000 this year. New equipment, we've left $1 in that item. And IT expense, and that's Cybertron's, our portion of Cybertron. We budgeted $24,275 last year. We're budgeting $28,000 this year.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sandy, so that the computer expense is for the purchase of equipment, and Cybertron is for the maintenance and
No,
fixing of the stuff, or?
no, the
What is
computer,
the
the
break?
computer expense has to do with, do you want to go over that? That's contracts.
Contracts for all our software, we have to pay for updates.
Licensing and stuff.
Licensing, yes.
You know, these, I just want to make sure, well, we have a brief interruption here. Everybody has the latest, these were passed out earlier. These are the latest, they do show the end of the year actuals, 12/31/2011, you should have that, okay? Fine.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if everybody has one, could we possibly give out the rest of them to the public?
Well, why don't we, yeah, that's fine. See if they're passed. Sure. Janice, can you just-
We need to save a couple, one for Betsy and one
Yeah.
for Dina.
A couple for posterity.
What's your name on them? I'm turning it at the end, right? What's your name on them?
Rob is going to be presenting dietary. Yeah. This is our last year's.
We have in dietary, you want to go line by line?
Yes, why don't you go ahead and do it that way?
Line by line.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, just for the public that just got past these, could we be told what pages are?
Okay, this is on page 3.
Of expenditures.
Yes.
The dietary expense 5130, we have overtime at 2,500. We had higher overtime in 2011, basically because of the move, and we physically moved the department ourselves. Salary expense was less than budgeted in 2011. There was a vacancy factor there for dietary aides, and turnover accounts for that, so usually I am down 1 or 2 full-time equivalents in the process of interviewing. It takes quite a while to take several weeks to get an employee on the payroll. The other expenses I really are uncontrollable for me at the department level: Social Security, medical insurance, retirement, workers' comp, unemployment, dental, education and conferences. We've reduced that budget. Our experience has been less. That's the cost of in-service training for our professional staff as well as our hourly staff. Uncontrollable is Medicare expense. The consultant is our consultant dietitian. We have 8 hours a week, registered dietitian. Contracted service is a service contract from Hobart on warewashing equipment. We had less, of course, because we're still under warranty right now, so I have another 6 months of warranty on the new equipment before we have to get an extended warranty, which is cost effective. Dues, licenses, subscriptions, basically to nutritional information that we have to keep up with, as well as our computer software. General operating supplies are paper, chemicals, smallware replacement. It's a challenging budget. We had the expense, and part of this was in the moving and supplying equipment to the 8 households now, where we had 2 nourishment kitchens. In the old building I had 8, so it was more expensive just to get those stocked up. Our food cost expense, inflation is projected at about 4.5% to 5% for this calendar year. It's my most challenging budget line item for sure. Bear in mind that also includes food costs for Department of Corrections as well as the nursing home. Food from farm, seasonal, and uniform expenses is a contracted expenses with dietary employees. Propane gas, we're much more efficient in the new building than we were in the old building, so hopefully we'll see a decrease even if there is an increase in propane, because I had equipment in the old building that was really inefficient. Our old Hobart dish machine was propane, so it just was burning all the time, from 5 in the morning till 8 at night. Now we have a very efficient Hobart electric dish machine. And you'll see equipment maintenance pretty much at $10,000, which is a forecast for repair of small wares equipment or anything that might need a tune-up during the year. And then new equipment is just basically plastic flatware, china, stainless steel, and any of those things that need to be replaced during the year.
Just a question on that new equipment. They're really what I guess some might term supply items rather than mechanical equipment replacement.
Well, it depends. Some of it is, it'll last over a year. I mean, it's things that are, like plastic Cambro transport equipment or food containers. As soon as it gets a crack in it, it has to be replaced.
Okay.
So, some of those things, I mean, it's $50 here, $75 there, and it just adds up.
Representative McConkey and then Representative Alden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob, thanks so much for being here, for what you're doing, and I'm sure that new facility is a blessing to you and your people.
It's fabulous.
It is. I'd like to address two items, and perhaps you did this, the first one, I didn't hear it. Uniform expenses.
That's for my dietary employees. It's basically $125 per year per employee, and with replacement, as new employees come in, we provide shirts, aprons, towels, kitchen cleaning equipment, or to-clean equipment. So basically, it's some purchased uniforms, shirts. They provide the pants.
Thank you. So if I'm working in your facility, I'm expected to be dressed in a certain way?
Correct.
And that's what you're providing?
Yep.
On meals being provided, I know there's a certain economy of scale when you're making thing or building any item, the food. Do you have a sense of how much extra time you or your staff is devoting providing the number of meals you are to employees on property?
Well, I count the meals, that we serve. We serve a total of, or projected to serve in this calendar year, 231,635 meals. And I have it broken down by category. So staff meals would be about 40,000.
So if we looked at staff meals at 40,000, I would imagine that's involved, there's two costs there, not only the cost of the food, but then to prepare those meals?
Correct.
It would seem, if my wife and I were to make 40,000 meals in a given year, it would seem to be quite a bit of time. Is that something that your production and things are happening quickly, or?
Not sure what you're asking, but
To produce 40,000 extra meals, there must be a cost involved in that for your department.
well, it's built. I mean, it bills in. I mean, we're a pretty efficient department when you figure that we're covering DOC meals as well as nursing home meals, and now we do have the cafe that we're getting some income from. But
And if I could just finish, is that policy of providing those meals something, are you familiar with your other county dietary, with the other nursing homes? Is that typical to provide not only your property, but the jail and others?
yes, and in the counties that are looking for economy and efficiency, Merrimack County, I know, they were running two separate kitchens. They've now they're managing from one the nursing home kitchen is now managing the Department of Corrections kitchen. So they're looking to do what we're doing. Some of them are still run freestanding kitchens in both locations, but we don't. Essentially in DOC, we just have a satellite kitchen for staging where the food is shipped in bulk and then it's served in individual trays.
Thank you.
Rob, let me ask you this question. The meals, you're providing the 40,000 for staff. Do those meals include the cafe meals or not? The cafe meals or somewhere else?
Those include, the 40,000 is the free meals that are served to all outlets
All right.
for,
So the cafe meals would be included in the grand total of the 231,000 plus, is that
correct.
correct? Okay. And of course, those meals are our source of revenue, although it's still growing, but it is a source of revenue as well.
Correct.
Okay.
And to follow up on that point, that source of revenue on the 40,000 meals, that's not a source of revenue.
That is not, no, that was not what I said.
Okay,
I
thank you.
said the source of revenue is the cafe. So the cafe meals are reimbursed, or there's a cost for that. That is a source of revenue,
Thank you.
not the 40,000.
Not the 40,000.
We also bill Department of Correction $3.15 per meal. So we're providing 3 meals per day, and that fluctuates based on what their in-house census is. Changes every meal.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Representative Baldwin?
Thank you for recognizing me, and thank you, Rob, for entertaining my questions. I noticed that the consultant number went from $10,000 to $15,000 from 2010 to 2011. And that computed out to be about 30, and I thought I heard you say that it was 8 hours per week,
Correct.
and my perfunctory math told me that was about over $35 an hour for that person.
Correct.
So I was just wondering if you could let us know why it went from 10 to 15 and...
Well, there were some years in the past that I wasn't using all of that 8 hours. I try to have the dietitian come in and work as quickly as they can, in and out. We do a lot of, some of the clinical work we do ourselves with certified dietary managers that are on my staff, the same people that do process the menus, and we have a selective menu for our residents in the nursing home, so they do some of the quarterlies. But with the increasing regulation now at survey time, I feel that we will use the full 8 hours
Okay.
of that registered dietitian from now on. The survey process is getting more intense every year.
Representative Umberger?
Yes. Representative Aldrin raised, or in your comment to that, raised a question in my mind. Is the contracted employee, does he or she make the decisions about what patient A will have for a meal, if it's different than the general? Is that what that person
If there's a
is?
medical issue, yeah, if there's a medical nutrition issue, if someone either is gaining weight, losing weight, has a food allergy, has a complication in medication, et cetera, that
So
may be
that's-
affecting their nutrition. So they will come in and, provide that detail for us.
I could follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. However, you and your people determine what the menu is from day to day, and the dietitian only works with the people that are having difficulty with your meals.
Essentially. I mean, they help us. I run 3 menus now, 3 5-week cycle menus. One for DOC, one for the nursing home, and one for the cafe. Of the nursing home menu, we have 9 diets that are developed from our main menu, so some cardiac diets, sodium diets, etc.
Thank you very much.
Rob? You have a-
I will comment that many of our residents are aging in place, so the acuity has changed. If a resident has difficulty swallowing, again, they have to be assessed. And there are federal regulations that a resident is seen every so often by a dietitian. So it's a moving 8-hour day and a very busy 8-hour day when they are there. We're moving on to nursing. We've decreased the number of hours and also thought of expense for overtime. from 210,650 budgeted last year to 250,000 this year. And this is we have a new director of nurses, and this is one of her many priorities, is look at every area that we can to make sure that we can decrease and attempt to decrease the overtime. We have, as I spoke to the subcommittee, we are trying to have more flexible hours. Hiring, I know that we talked last year about hiring 2 people instead of 1 person so that there may be more flexibility and other strategies to do that. So hopefully we'll, again, continue to see improvement. Under nursing salary, we budgeted $95,125 last year, $96,875 this year. And that's for three individuals, 2 in the medical records department and 1 in our nursing department. Now, when we talk about nursing staffing, every year I say, well, this is where it's really at, and let's switch them around, and it's not, this has been miscoding. Paul and I spent the day on Friday making sure that we're giving you the actual numbers and understanding what we're talking about. If you looked at all 3 areas, you would see that we were under budget last year by about $20,000. So if we look at the LNAs, which we have 59 of, we budgeted last year $1,966,161. This year we budgeted the same because we were waiting to hear about union negotiations. Charge nurses, where I had mentioned that we're not increasing FTEs, but we were going to be taking some monies from an M&A line item to once we came into the new building. When you need, and it is a significant increase. It's not an increase with that the movement. What it is a significant increase of is we don't budget for per diem staff. We don't budget for if someone takes a vacation and they have a paid vacation. We don't budget for who's taking their place and time. We don't budget for orientation. For every individual, and this, regardless of what department a person goes into, they have a large orientation and they're with another person. So this is where you see an increase here. We budgeted $668,200 in our charge nurse area. We have 17.4 charge nurses. This is an area that we have to have a charge nurse. And if we didn't, I'd have to, they wouldn't like it, but I'd have to brush my shoes off and be there too, because that's an area that it needs supervision. And we're budgeting, we're asking for a change in this item to 787,875. Under the supervisory, we have nurse, we have 10.2 FTEs, and we budgeted last year $658,800, and we're budgeting this year $665,175. And their Social Security, because of, I don't have that, Paula. Social Security, because of the change above, we would be asking for, we did have, last year we budgeted $233,853, and we're asking for a change to be made to $235,953. Under the M&A position, we budgeted last year $283,025. We're asking a change to for next year to be $289,194. And there you'll see the movement of the monies from that area supplementing that charge nurse area.
You mean 380?
38, yes, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
389, what?
No.
No,
Would be
383.
She's asking for an increase. in
No,
that.
no, decrease.
To
It is
289.
289.
Oh,
And because we moved, and again, we had mentioned pre-budget that we weren't increasing FTEs, but we would be moving money for that area.
I want to make sure everybody's clear on the lines. Could you go over those lines again that you just mentioned?
FTEs.
Increase the line that we're looking at.
Is that your word?
The LNAs remain the same.
Okay, the LNAs are at, it's 1,966,161.
Yes.
It's the same.
Yes.
And,
The supervisory nurse is the same. It's 665,175.
yes, right.
Where is that?
Oh, okay.
Two down.
Two down.
The charge nurse, we're asking for a change to 787,875.
That's the one I don't see. Where is it?
Which one is that, Sandy?
That's 4 lines down.
Where is it?
So you're asking, instead of the commissioner's line, item of 671,815, you're asking for,
787,875.
Yeah, that's what I didn't see.
right,
Did you find it?
okay.
And then
77's not here.
7 lines down, you'll see a
No,
change
what she's saying is that she's asking
from
for this as
383,025, and this is the M&A line item, to 289,194, which is a decrease.
Because I don't know what the hell we're looking at.
Okay,
Can you give us the
Does
line,
everybody have
line
that?
number?
It's the M&A medication nursing assistant.
289 what?
It's 289,194, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that line is 300-514011, 011.
And what's the change?
It is now 289,194.
And the salary charge nurse is.
In which, there's 5 lines. Which line are we changing?
It's line 5140.
Yes, I know, but which line over?
The line that's over is the,
411.
The 5th line over.
It's the
Charge
commissioner's line that would be
Okay,
changed.
so now it's 2 something to what?
289,194.
And 08 is 287,
And 08 is 787,875.
oh, sorry, 787, 875.
And those are all changes from the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, have the commissioners approved these changes, or is this just coming out of the,
we worked with the subcommittee, asked that, we knew that we were looking at numbers, and we wanted to make specifically sure of what LNAs, and because our RNs, LPNs, they float in and out, and we're constantly asked, year after year, are these solid numbers? And I say, well, yes and no. They
So-
are solid
okay,
numbers.
so the answer is the commissioners have not.
They have not seen this, but these
Okay.
are the asking of the changes.
What are we doing?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
union contract is going to change a lot of those figures.
What are we doing?
We've come to an agreement, but it hasn't been voted on yet. We'll bring it up at the next meeting.
So it will all be done before we have to finalize this budget. Okay.
Good question.
Yes, Representative Merrill first.
If they haven't looked at these figures, and there are more figures coming in changes with the union contract, why are we looking at these things today? We're gonna look at them all over again. It's kind of foolish.
Yeah, why are we wasting our time?
Yep.
Well, if we move ahead on most of this, the only figures we'll have to review will be those that come out of the union contract. We're going to be looking at very few lines, actually. Isn't that correct? I mean, we will look at,
Anybody that's union,
right, we'll look at the salary lines plus the related items like social security, workman's comp, and those kinds of things related to salary. But we're going to be looking at, although they're large in number, large in volume, we won't be looking at many items. We'll be looking at relatively few items as we come back to look at the final
Why don't we-
portion of the budget.
Yeah, why don't we just skip all the salary lines and go down
Yeah.
to the actual, starting with education conferences? Since those numbers above that are all gonna change.
Yeah, I agree.
Education conferences, we budgeted the same for both years, 20,000, 20,000. I spoke to the subcommittee with Commissioner Solomon present, The agency number, which we had dropped from 17,500 to 10,000, is a suggestion to increase it to 12,000 because it's just so fine, even though that is certainly an area that we want to decrease. I am just very concerned about that.
Okay, so it's line 5140,023, you would increase from 10,000 to 12,000.
Yes, and that's a decrease from last year's 17,500.